Is there a reason why it doesn't come on?
Maybe it's not turned on, I don't know.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Litchfield Planning Board meeting of April 4th, 2023. Will you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I'll do the roll call of members. Michael Croto, Chair.
Kate Stevens, Vice Chair.
Ron Stevens, member.
Kimberly Queenan, Selectmen's Rep.
Sam Terrell, member.
Okay, and James is not here. But we do have a quorum. So, first item on tonight, public input on non-agenda items. Any items not on the agenda for this evening? I don't see anyone from the public here, so I will close input on, public input on non-agenda items. We'll go to number one, and the only one on the agenda for this evening, possible zoning amendments. And we have with us Jay Minkara, our illustrious circuit rider from NRPC, who I understand came back from vacation, or?
Conference.
Oh,
National
conference.
Planning Conference.
Okay, well, welcome back. And,
Thank you.
and we'll let you take it from here.
Got in about noon. So
Okay.
really not much in terms of a formal presentation, but we thought it makes sense to do this. We had talked about kind of trying to do some workshops on the second meeting every month, but we do have kind of a full agenda next time. So since we didn't have anything on this agenda, maybe this was a good time to start. We've kind of had some informal chats. So really, I don't have much in terms of a presentation, but what I thought I would do is kind of just bring back up a couple of items that we had talked about before. One, just very simply, the home occupation ordinance that we didn't move forward, kind of under the concept of maybe we try to move it forward again this year, but knock off the more controversial piece that dealt with firearms, because really nothing else was controversial, and there's a lot of other changes there. And I can just bring that up. I wasn't going to really start there, but just as a kind of a refresher, this is what we had last time, and really the main idea was to come up with kind of two tiers, to be clear on that there's a class of home occupations that does not require planning board approval, and there's a class of them that does require planning board approval, and then to provide some requirements around those. And obviously this isn't for action tonight, but you can just kind of see that the way it was constructed is there's general requirements that apply to any home occupation, obviously, and most of these are obvious. It has to be incidental or secondary. The idea is really to minimize the impact to residential neighbors, needless to say. So that was kind of the first set of requirements. And then we had a new section, which is home occupations that are permitted by right. And really this is kind of the practice already. We just really didn't, the ordinance didn't really expressly say that. So now, the intent here is that it would expressly say it. And basically, without going through all the requirements, these are home occupations that are essentially invisible. You wouldn't really know what's going on. And no sign, no other employees other than the residents, etc. And so just kind of moving on,
And
visitors.
we're going to leave 11 off for now, right?
I'm sorry?
We're going to leave number 11 off for now about the firearms on that one.
Yes, I think that's what we were thinking.
Yeah,
is
just
let's
making sure.
Get rid of that one, because really, the idea here is that you don't have retail sales, you don't have services, you don't have customers coming to your house. That's kind of this home occupation by right. And then the next category is home occupations that require planning board approval. They have to meet all the requirements that apply to all home occupations, but in this case, you can have up to 2 non-family members. You can have customers, coming to the home. And you can have a sign. So this is where, you could do have the one stall beauty parlor or whatever. But obviously there's more requirements. So that's generally, and then we had some classes of very specific ones. Most notably was childcare. So that's family childcare at home. And that is so it's still a home occupation, but there are more requirements around it. And the idea there is that when you have a daycare, there is a lot more visible activity, especially with pickup and drop off. That's probably the biggest concern. And there can be more noise. There's children, hopefully playing, et cetera. And so the thinking here was, we do need some additional requirements. A lot of what's in here in terms of definition of family childcare comes directly from the state. So there are state licensing requirements, and the capacity of 6 children is kind of one of the state triggers of your family, your childcare. Before that, you go above that and you go into a different category. So that just seemed logical as a place. And there were really just a few additional requirements here about, screening an outdoor play area. And the planning board would have a little more scrutiny here around, making sure that there isn't an undue impact. And then there are some additional requirements, like making sure that whoever's operating the child care facility is licensed. And then next is adult daycare, and this really parallels very much family daycare. There are just a few, once again, there are state rules around adult daycare, and this really very much parallels those in terms of what's considered home occupation. There's just a few differences. Pretty obviously, you don't have an outdoor children's play area. But beyond that, it paralleled it. And then, of course, we did have the specific, another section dealing with firearms. And again, the kind of thinking was, if we do want to go forward with this, if we think that there's merit in kind of having these different tiers, then maybe we do that, but we knock off this section, since that's really what was controversial.
Did town council have an opportunity to review that section the last time?
Town council did, but we never received comments back.
We never received comments back?
No.
Do you want me to go check?
And
Would
then
it be
we wound up,
possible to
and then we
just-
wound up dropping it, so.
Yeah, but I would like to see what town council
Sure.
has on that.
I will reach out again.
And just because I'm curious
Yeah.
what they would say about it.
I think that's
If we
a
can do
fair
that.
point. I will reach out again. So that was really it. On this one, we can give it some thought, if this is something we want to pursue, and I'll certainly reach out on that question.
I do have one question on 50407 about,
Oh, sorry, I forgot to get to that section.
oh, I don't know,
You're
I
right.
thought you kind of did. Just the landscaping one.
Yes.
It's really not Litchfield, but there's a border town where there's a house, and looks like there's a lot of paving equipment there, in another town. So I understand why that wouldn't want to be seen, but some people are landscapers, and they're gonna have their own equipment, maybe at home. So, we talked about parking, right? Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a business vehicle,
Yeah.
and you go to and from work with it, that's not a home occupation. So just because you park a vehicle that has the name of a business on it doesn't mean you're running a business.
But what if you're
So
running it
that's
out of your
okay.
house, and you might
Well,
have 3 or 4?
It's definitely something we can
trucks.
talk about, whether we want to allow that or not. A lot of communities don't allow landscaping businesses because of the vehicles coming and going, heavier vehicles, and also the tendency, although you can restrict it, it's not uncommon for landscaping businesses to want to store things like mulch, loam, et cetera, on the property. It tends to be very visible. But it's really up to the board. If the board feels landscaping businesses are okay under certain conditions, we could certainly take it off this list.
Like I said, under certain conditions, maybe,
Right.
not have mulch in
sense.
the yard, that
Right.
kind of thing, yeah.
So long as there's no outdoor storage, we could take it off this list.
Oh, don't have to take it off, but maybe we can just put conditions around it.
Yeah, I mean,
They can run it.
take it off the prohibited
Oh,
list.
oh, yes, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just trying to make, if somebody's trying to make a living, I get it, but yeah, you don't want to have.
Yeah, we could do
Stuff
that.
outside, big rocks, yeah. Again, we're in discussion, nothing's being voted on tonight,
absolutely.
but we're just
And we're really
having
early,
conversations,
I
yeah.
mean, which is great. We're early in the process. So if there's other things that we think about, that we want to add or have more specific requirements around, we can do that.
Okay.
Could you just clarify, like, what is retail sales versus, selling somebody that makes something like crafty out of their house?
So, retail sales, technically that's any time you're selling directly to a consumer some sort of product would be a retail sale.
Okay, so I'm just wondering if this accidentally limits something where, like you see the types of products that people sell at the farmhouse on the corner store,
Yep.
or like those gift shops with a lot of its homemade things. And I would think that those are sometimes sold out of someone's home.
For sure. Which section are you looking at?
Maybe it was just the permitted by right. Is it that would just require planning board approval?
Yeah, because
That means, because it's not in the permitted by right?
well, yeah. So the permitted by right has no sales because that idea is that you don't do retail sales. You don't have customers coming to the home at all.
Oh,
Home
okay,
occupations
okay.
that require planning board approval, you can have retail sales.
I see, okay. I read into that too much. Okay, that sounds good then. Thank you.
So obviously we've got time to give it some thought. And again, there might be some
Right.
things that we want to treat differently. So it's worth thinking about.
So we did address that there should be no issue with, like you said, a vehicle parked that has the business's name on it.
Right.
Right,
That's
we
not,
addressed
that's not
that
running a
issue.
business. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it said it needed to be screened.
I'm
What
trying to
that said?
remember. We had a lot of conversation around it, and I'm trying to remember
I
how we
was just
dealt with
reading
it.
Which part of the conversation?
Under 50403-4, so the home occupations requiring planning board approval, it says exterior storage of materials and equipment must be screened from public view. I wonder if we can put some sort of clause in there that says, like, if it's a vehicle, like a van or something that says the business on the side.
It has
I-
to,
does that
would
need
have
to
to
be
be
It would have to be
screened.
screened. I think the way this is written, it would have to be screened, which seems like a little much.
I would agree. That does seem like a little much. And I thought we had, I remember discussing that, and I thought we addressed that somehow.
Is this an older? This is an older revision.
I remember having this whole
Right.
conversation around, also what's a,
And there were weight limits, weren't there?
the whole weight limit thing I remember us talking about. So that does make me wonder. I think this is, but where did that all go? I'm gonna have to dig. I remember we had that whole conversation, and I'm not seeing any references to that here. But I can't remember where it landed.
Because I think there was some opposition to, say, like a semi-truck or something parked.
Right,
Right.
and I
Probably
was
back to
pretty
the
sure,
Yep.
I was pretty sure we arrived at a weight limit,
Okay,
and that's what I recall.
all right, so we can
The
find that.
setback on that, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig.
It's a setback.
But yeah, that's a good point.
Because at the end of the day, they're making a living, right? They're coming home, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right, that's what, yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Some
we
people
didn't
have a company
accidentally,
car, right?
Yeah,
consume
if it's a
restrictions.
question, we should be clear.
Yeah, I mean, freedom.
Well, I mean, if I recall the discussion, it had to do with if it's part of your business or something, isn't like, then it's a business, it's part of the home occupation, or it's part of that business, then it's a vehicle for that particular business versus.
Right, with the
Yeah,
way
that's
that
in
this
here.
was written, it said it would have had to been screened,
Yeah,
and I don't think that was the intent.
okay,
Right. I think that's right.
right, okay.
I just wonder if this is where it landed.
Well, certainly, we have the opportunity to review this and, at, possibly a future meeting, we can decide if there's want to make any changes, give the board an opportunity to take a look at it and to think about it. And we can bring it back and we'll work with Jay to see if we can kind of tweak it.
Yeah, and I did find it. The final language that we voted on, it's up on the screen. Business-related vehicles can't exceed a gross vehicle weight of 26,000 pounds. So that was where that conversation wound up.
Okay.
I just have a comment somebody made to me watching that last meeting. Was whether we want to talk about signs or not, or putting something on a website or not, we can't discriminate against different businesses. It would be a discrimination. We have to just be careful. So just, we'll keep that in mind.
The firearm section,
Yes, but
right?
again, it could be discrimination, so that's what,
Right.
that's what they were raising the concern, so. Again, we're having conversations, and we'll
Right,
have
right.
legal flush it out, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it's sort of an equal protection issue too, so.
26,000 pounds, where did we come up with that number? I forget.
I'm pretty sure it was from DOT vehicle classification.
Nice.
And I could be wrong on this, so there's probably smarter people out there, but I think larger vehicles than that require a commercial driver's license.
The 18-wheeler? Is that
I
what
think
you're
so. But it's definitely a DOT cutoff. And that was specifically so that you don't have the semi. All right, so I'll circulate this because
Okay.
this was the very last language that we had.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll have to take an opportunity to review it, and we'll have more comments, I'm sure, as we go
All right.
along. Thank you.
So then the other one, that at least I had on my list to talk about was the concept we've talked about, a couple of times. We considered bringing it forward this year, and but decided we just didn't really have enough time to tackle it. So it's kind of opportune that we're starting earlier, and that was the question of allowing under some conditions residential development in the northern commercial zone. And I say northern commercial zone because that's where it came up. Could it be in other commercial zones also? Sure. That aren't in the multifamily housing overlay. So that was the concept that we had talked about, and we had a couple of presentations, and so I thought I would just kind of share those to remind everybody, bring it all back. We had Rick Charbonneau come in with Jim Petropoulos his, I don't want to say his engineer, but an engineer he was working for. And so this, I think, originally came to the board in 2021. And what they had basically done is kind of gone through the northern commercial zone, and essentially made the pitch that there isn't a lot of market for a lot of the land. And so one of the reasons we haven't seen a lot of development is because there's just only so many developments that you're going to see. So that was certainly the argument. We did just approve a gas station, who knows, with restaurants and convenience stores if there will be more. But nevertheless, so this first one just kind of zoomed in the area on the zoning map, the northern commercial zone, and then of course here we have the northern commercial industrial district. And they provided us a little overview. Most of this, I think, would still be true. Again, we've had some changes since then, but, kind of overall, almost half of the land that's currently in the northern commercial zone is residentially used. Only about 20% is commercial, 22% is undeveloped. And obviously the focus is mainly on the undeveloped, although some of the residentially zoned land could be redeveloped. Yeah, in fact, probably would be. And this map showed the properties that at that point were still undeveloped. And again, I think that's still pretty much true. At least the bigger ones. And then kind of once again, so here, those were the parcels overall that were. And these were the ones that were owned by Rick. And of course, we did have the Barron's proposal that had come to the board and then ultimately fallen through a couple of years ago. That would have been one of those bigger parcels that were not owned by Rick. And but importantly, his point was the properties under his control, at least, accounted for about 89% of the vacant land in the district. And then they went through an analysis, I won't do that now, of the regulations as they apply to this district. They went through a list of additional uses to consider, and we actually did address a lot of this when we amended the Northern Commercial District. We did expand the list of allowed uses. Some of them, I think, were in some ways implied. We thought that they were there. We didn't necessarily get this specific, but we did add, a lot of items specifically that were allowed. And we also, as you recall, put in provisions to allow limited warehousing and distribution facilities in the district also. So much of that happened. And then nevertheless, they kind of talked about why you're not going to see big box happen. There was this kind of whole analysis of what you're not going to see. Again, without going through all of this. And as I mentioned, we addressed a lot of the issues. The issue that we didn't address at that time was allowing additional residential uses. And then we were presented with a concept of what allowing some additional residential in this area might look like, at least on those properties. And so that's kind of what you're seeing here. Basically golf course property, but just kind of a layout, potential layouts of some residential / mixed use. I could probably zoom in a little and it would be a little clearer. You can kind of see a little bit better. And then these are just concepts, but kind of concepts of a mixed use in the sense of a mixture of uses, not necessarily on the same development, but kind of some small shopping center area here, a couple of smaller footprints here, whatever those, I don't know if those were intended to be Dunkin' Donuts type uses or whatever, but you can kind of see some small pads, and again, all very, very conceptual of what might happen. So this was just kind of one development scenario of what might be possible, and then down here, another little concept. So, and we can come back to any one of these. So in looking at that concept, we had come up with language that we didn't move forward with, but if you recall the structure of the Northern Commercial District as it is now, you've got uses that are allowed by right. We had language in there about that we had added about protecting, the rural residential character, the historic character of the area. We had the uses allowed by right, and then we had uses that were allowed as conditional uses, such as the warehousing and distribution. And among the items on that list that we didn't move forward with was what you're seeing up on the screen now, which was a conditional use to allow a concept that we called mixed-use village development. And essentially the idea here is that it would apply to only certain lots, so it had to be the larger lots, 5 acres or more in area. And you could develop them residentially, but they had to include a commercial component. So the idea was you didn't just have strict residential development, there was some link. And at least here, the density that was allowed would be up to 2.5 units per acre, so the same as we allow in the multifamily overlay, but the key here is that there has to be at least 100 square feet of commercial space provided per unit. So that was kind of the concept. And of course, there's some other requirements here, but that was really the main gist is you can do residential as a conditional use where it's currently not allowed. But it's got to be mixed use. There's got to be that minimum component. And another key aspect of that, because one of the concerns was we're giving up, commercial land that is, supposed to be there to support the tax base. And so was this last criterion here, which required that, actually it's not the last one, it's number 8. And that required that there be a fiscal impact study that would have to basically show a positive result. So that was kind of the thinking at that time. And so the idea is this something, now that we have time to really think about it between now and putting something forward, we've got like 9 months, is this something we want to think about again? If so, it probably will take some work to think about it, and I think if we do want to do it, just a few things I would suggest is, we might want to actually do some exercises to think about what would this actually look like. We know what the properties are. There's 7 owned by one person, and there's probably not more than 10, I would say, out there where this could happen. So we could actually, do a little scenario planning where we take a property and it's 20 acres and, what would that wind up looking like in terms of number of units and how much commercial development would that be, and does that make sense? Do these restrictions make sense? Are there other things we want to be thinking about? So that's really the concept, is throwing it out there now again and giving us some time to think about. And then kind of the only other thing I would share, was this, and Kate had shown this, I think, to us a while ago, and just kind of giving some ideas around what mixed use developments look like in some contexts. So I guess this is Montgomery County. There's other examples out there that we could look at also, but this had a lot of visuals in it. Which could be helpful to us. We have existing regulations now are there some things that we would want to think about differently? So for example, in these examples that you see here, they're all really focused on that village character. Many of them do have, some of these examples do have mixed use in the same structure. So again, is that something that we want or we don't want? Those are all kinds of things to think about. If you recall that master plan that we just looked at a few minutes ago, it wasn't this. It was basically, kind of your typical commercial strip along the road with, completely separate apartments, that are essentially Pagewood Oval. Is that what we want or not? And so we have got time to think about that, and maybe that's something we would have to write into the ordinance. If we wanted a different character, that would clearly have to be part of the ordinance. The design guidelines that we have now in the site plan regulations are pretty good. If we kind of had a vision of what we thought we wanted to see here, maybe there would need to be some changes there also. Maybe not. But at any rate, we have these examples. And there's a lot of other examples out there that we could also take a look at. Kind of again, you're looking at, do we want something that's kind of more that traditional New England village? Central green space, some commons.
Well, obviously, I think whatever it is, it has to at least return to the rural character of Litchfield, I would think, at least. To the sort of the agricultural piece, I guess, or the what it is on 3A,
And these do get, really detailed. There's a lot of different forms, I guess I would say here, different ways things can look. And we have, there are examples out there. The scale is different. This is a good example of that kind of different building types within the same development. Kind of a central open space, some commercial or mixed-use buildings over here. And there's some really nice descriptions in this that kind of accompany each of these different types. But this is, again, there's other examples out there. We can find them, but it would be probably worth taking some time to look at these and really thinking about, if you're looking at these different, potential plans, what do you like about them? What don't you like about them? And they do have this kind of nice description over here in the blue box, which, again, that's their example. It's not our example, but it does really give you something to think about. And, it gets down to this detail here where you can see the different house types. So these would be duplexes. These would be single-family homes. They're calling them village homes. Here, these would be smaller multifamily buildings. And so it's really pretty detailed. And you've got some visuals as to kind of what they mean. But this is exactly, I think, the kind of thing that we could do. You can, take a property and actually play with it
and see what comes out of it. That's interesting.
Yeah, they really are interesting.
Questions?
Yeah.
I do have some questions. Again, I'm not against it, but I think discussion's needed because the existing way the ordinances are is the commercial was supposed to be in the north and southern part of town.
Yep.
So we have an economic master plan, I thought. It's probably old at this point. However, I think a discussion's good. The impact fees are definitely going to have to be part of this, right? The build-out still, we needed to look at that number, right? Because if we're just going to be adding more houses up there, I think a lot of people aren't going to be happy about that. It goes to the voters, but it's supposed to
Absolutely.
be the financial, another means of money coming in. So, again, conversation, yeah, but with the one you just showed me, it's a very high density
Right.
homes, and I don't think that's what was planned by the town when they approved the economic model we have today.
Oh, I think that's right. And
So we need to look at
That's,
that.
that's, Montgomery County. So those are examples that you look at in terms of layout, not necessarily the
Right.
density that we would go to. But, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of conversations that would have to happen if we even decide this is something we want to move forward.
A lot of conversations.
It's
Economic, I
gonna
think.
require, I think, a lot of conversations.
Economic
and it's
people
gonna,
should look at this, yeah.
Yeah, this is not, it's just not gonna be done.
We just don't want to make it residential. you know,
Right.
That's
Mhm.
not the intent.
Big, like, big picture, very big picture. I've been thinking about this a lot when, for work, I do a lot of driving to, like, all over the southern part of the state. And what I notice is most towns, or a lot of towns do have state roads going through the center of town, and that's where the state road, the speed limit will be lowered because of the density of the buildings, but a lot of these buildings, I mean, they're from like the 1800s. So you'll see those extremely old farmhouses built in, next door to, shops and things, and it's a kind of walkable downtown area, your classic New England downtown. But Litchfield is backwards. So a lot of these towns will have a center, and then the larger lot requirements are on the outsides, and that's where their agriculture is. Where, in the center is where you have the smaller lots. And so I'm just wondering if we're talking about only changing the northern commercial zone. Is there a reason why we can't extend some of that commercial zone down 3A a little bit? Not a ton, not way towards, like library, Griffin Memorial area or anything. But allow that mixed use to extend down just that state road. And because we're already seeing it with the gas station getting built, crosswalk going across 3A, it could get to a point that it's built up enough that the state would need to lower that speed limit there, which may or may not be, which current residents may or may not be happy about. As it gets, more, if it gets more crowded in that area, they may be happy about it because it safer speeds going in front of a house that is on 3A. I would absolutely expect more cars though. So I'm just kind of wondering if, because I'm still extremely concerned about extending residential into the commercial zones. So is there any reason why we can't pull this, if we were looking at this overlay, pull this also a little further south on 3A to allow a little more commercial that away?
How far you want to go down? I know where Mel's is.
I haven't actually looked at the map yet. This is really just while I was driving and thinking about it.
It looks like just south of Mel's, there's a lot of farmland.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I'm afraid we're gonna run into a situation where a lot of farmland is lost to commercial, and I don't think that's what we want.
Goes against everything in the
I'm
master
hesitant.
plan.
And I'm thinking also to balance, I think it was Jay had mentioned creating an area that requires larger lot sizes.
Yep.
So if something were to be built, it would have to be 2+ acres for a house. We always talking about making smaller density. And that keeps that open area, that keeps those, the larger lot sizes that we talk
It's-
about,
but it's still
people
opening it.
wanting.
It's still opening it for commercial. I think, I've only lived in town 22 years, but it's always been save Route 3A, keep it agricultural. And I think
Well, what I'm afraid
dipping
of
down
right now,
further is, especially if if you're doing two changes to the model that they had approved. One is the financial, part, going residential, and now you're saying move the commercial into the residential. I think it's a hard sell, that's all I'm saying.
Well, what I'm saying is the alternative is those farms get sold and they get split up into a neighborhood. When I would rather there be an option for some commercial there instead of the only option being
that would have to go to the voters,
Firefly.
because
Oh,
they
absolutely.
all said that center part of town is residential.
Right.
So that, again, that's gonna be buy-in from the town.
Oh,
But look at
absolutely.
number one on that list for, well, because it goes into a little bit what you're saying, Kate. Number one on 803,
What
that
is
you can take the 5 acres and further subdivide it. You don't want to just keep subdividing either, right? It's going to
Right.
have to be, because then you're going to be in that tight picture we saw, right? And I hate the word perpetuity on the deed, but once they do that, right?
Yeah.
Did you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, it's a 5 you have to have 5 acres, and all of a sudden, it's getting subdivided. They come back 3 years later and subdivide again. That's what I'm afraid. We just have to tighten that up.
Tighten.
On 803.
On this in particular. Okay.
Number one, I agree, the 5 acre minimum, but then you can keep subdividing it, just like it to be, the wording to be a little tighter,
Oh,
that
I
you
see what
can't
you're
keep
saying.
subdividing, because people change off the board, people forget, and so maybe something with the deed, if once you subdivide, stopped.
Well, I mean, I'm personally not inclined to extend it, out to 3A.
No.
I think if this were to come to fruition, I think it would have to be within that confines that we show on the map, that what those available properties are. I think I would be a little less, I would be very hesitant to push it out. Because I don't think I think that something that, would really affect our rural character, and I think it would not be a good thing for Litchfield, especially if people who come here to the community to have that pushed out that way. But like I said, I wouldn't be for that.
Putting businesses between the farms.
Yeah, no. I think keeping that area that's originally been in place, I think is just to maintain it as that.
Is that part of conservation's plan too, that same land area, to keep it rural? When you did that conservation plan, you had a strategy just developed.
Well,
Part
there's
of
a
it was
plan.
3A as well, right?
Right,
To keep
that
that whole
focuses
area.
on that area, right. And I think the community, in the survey that we did, that was a big thing was conservation and that, keeping the open space and that particular area, agricultural, and so.
Well, that is obviously the goal, but we can't prevent a farm from selling.
No, we can't.
And so if it is going to be developed, we are really limiting ourselves as far as tax base because of how much residential land we have.
So you're making the argument not to flip the northern commercial to residential, or?
Right, I'm still not totally
I mean-
sold on encroaching residential into the commercial land, so I was
Yeah, and
just
it may
thinking
be.
about a way to try to balance it, because right now, the options for those farms is when they're sold, it's only houses.
Yep.
So, and if that's the way the board wants it to stay, that's
I
fine, I
mean,
just wanted to.
we
talk about
we
it.
don't have to do this. This is merely an opportunity to take a look at something.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if the board doesn't feel comfortable moving forward with it, always, we don't have to go forward with it. But it is an option to look at. So just keep that in mind. This isn't something, that's, we're forcing the board to make that decision on a mixed use. It's just, this is something that, we have talked about and.
Yeah.
Right. We can keep talking about it. We can
Do workshops on it.
Yeah.
Or we could decide that we really just don't want to go in that direction. And that's obviously,
It's hard, because now, right now, the way it's zoned, it would, if it were fully developed, it would be 102. It would be the same feel as 102, and that area, I just think it'd be a nice area to have, to make it be a little more like slow shopping, I guess. A little more like intimate of a commercial area than 102.
I look at Merrimack on the other side. Now, they're doing bigger businesses
Right.
between their farmland. It's a very different feel.
It's a different,
Merrimack side. I will say, somebody commented before, if you live near Pilgrim Drive, like a Page Road area, you're going out that end of town, 102, right? If you're in the northern commercial, you're pretty much going there, right? Some people, their whole lives are in and out of just that kind of one area. They don't go up and down 3A. Some people are like, what winery? I didn't know there was a winery coming. Well, I never travel on 3A, because they don't. They're either going out northern part or over to
Yeah,
102.
I mean, Albuquerque is the spine that they use.
Albuquerque is the secondary road.
Right.
But Kate's right, if we did build more homes in the northern commercial district, chances are they'd probably go in and out that way towards Manchester more, most of the time.
Yes.
So, yeah, so it's not as much traffic yet, but she is right. It's been here for years. It was when the farms decide to sell. It's residential at this point. Unless we'd introduce the bigger lots or
But not
whatever.
down, not down.
It's southern commercial's already commercial, right? Just happens to
Not
be
the
a
southern
farm.
commercial, that's right.
It just happens to be a farm there, but it's really commercial. That's the real problem there, yeah.
and I mean, unless, and then, the other focus is 102. Is there, something you want to do about 102 in terms of doing something like this, a mixed use or something?
It's pretty much built up on 102,
But,
though, isn't
yeah,
it?
so.
Litchfield's like,
Well, I'm not psychic, but I have a strong feeling that we'll be talking about that very shortly.
yes, like, next meeting.
You are psychic.
Yes, you are something. No, But I'm wondering if there's examples in New Hampshire of this that we could take a look at as well. I know we have them.
There are, yeah.
But, because maybe towns that have, I don't know, similar population. Newmarket?
Has repurposed to brick buildings and there's.
Mixed, maybe that's something to look at then,
Yeah, there's definitely examples out there.
yeah.
I mean, I will say, I know that Merrimack has that in their ordinances. I will say there's been some struggle on the commercial side.
Yeah.
Where they've been approved with the commercial piece, and, I know one example, Crossroads Path is just one that comes to mind, because that was done, if you know it was done in the traditional village way. They have got greens, they used kind of historic prototypes for the houses, and there was a office building, and there was going to be a commercial, retail building, but the retail building never happened, and the commercial building has since been converted to apartments because they just couldn't rent the office.
What was that called?
Crossroads
Crossroads
Path.
Path.
Crossroads?
It's an interesting development. In terms of these like village prototypes, though, they really did that part pretty well, I thought. There's definitely more of them out there that we could
Sure.
find.
What about Londonderry has rentals there now, and then they have the brewery, and now they're putting a office park.
By the Market Basket there?
Yeah. And obviously Tuscan Village is that, but it's on such a
Yeah,
scale
it's
that
a
I don't
much
even,
larger.
didn't even want to mention it.
That's sort of what I was thinking. It would end up being a
But-
miniature version of that.
Yeah, but but that is an example.
Right.
It's just obviously, the scale is much larger than anything we would see. And then and it's not the same thing, but there are towns that have tried to accommodate new development, commercial development in their town centers, like Hollis, that did, allow a small shopping center in their village, which I don't think is bad. I think they did a decent job of trying to integrate something modern that does have parking.
Did Amherst
It's not
do
mixed
that?
use. No, Hollis.
But did Amherst have something on 101? You go
well,
past that bakery, the nice one, Black Forest Cafe, isn't there something on the left
We all have
over there
our
that's
own
pretty nice?
tastes, but
No, but
yes,
it was
they
nice.
did.
It was
is-
nicely done.
It's their the kind of Germanic Bavarian looking village there.
No, keep going.
Oh, no, yeah.
Black
it's-
Forest Cafe,
keep going, yeah.
there's a food, nice one,
Black Forest is on
on
101.
the right, 101, right? And if you keep, so that's on your right, you're going west, I guess. Like a little further up on the left, there's a nice little shopping
Just a shopping
area.
center?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
cute.
yeah,
It's
Yeah,
well
yeah,
done.
yeah,
been
they've
in
got a
there.
few.
Yeah, that would not be bad.
Nothing around their village. That's stayed
Right, no,
very.
that's not there. Waterville Valley does something too. They have a village in the middle and all the homes around it. It's another model.
Yeah.
Not,
But of course, they have the
of course, they have
national
skiing.
forest.
Yes,
All
no.
right.
But I'm just saying, for you mixing the living with the business.
Yeah, but we could find more examples for sure that are out there.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see.
That's really what I'm afraid of, is we put forward this mixed use, and the residential gets built in a second, and we don't see any of the commercial.
I'm wondering if, we talked about doing a survey, and I'm wondering if this would be something to ask the town.
You certainly
What's your take? I mean, what do you want to see? And then if we have some sort of data to look at from a town perspective.
And one of the best ways to do that is to show people examples, to have
Yeah.
some examples and see what people think. Because if you ask them in a vacuum, everybody's gonna have a different picture in their head.
Right.
But if you show them some
Pictures.
things, it might be a way of, is this something you'd wanna see?
Right.
Can you run that by the owner of the property, just so? they-
No, I wouldn't do it on a specific property. I'd say.
Oh, okay,
I'd
good,
sh-
because I was gonna say that, because
No,
if they're gonna
no.
just,
Like,
no.
show
So-
pictures of different
But I'd want
types of
buy-in to
development.
make sure
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they're okay.
Yeah, definitely
don't- I
not showing
don't
anything
want
on
them
anybody's
surprised.
property.
Right.
I mean, another thing we could even I was thinking about, but I don't know that there's much opportunity, is applying that same mixed-use concept to properties outside of commercial zones that are in the overlay, that are in the multifamily housing overlay. But there aren't all that many left. Because I mean, there really aren't. We've got our kind of orange line overlay here, so there's some, but there isn't a lot of
I
opportunity.
mean, that would make sense if you're already allowing multifamily, right?
It would make sense. Because when we've seen multifamily come in within the multifamily overlay zone, it has been 100% multifamily. There hasn't been any mixed-use component.
Which area are you talking about? Down at Calawa Court? Where are you talking?
Well, so right now, our multifamily housing overlay is here. It's everything in this area around the orange. So it includes the 102 area. Yeah, it includes where Calawa Court is and all that. And then in the northern area, it includes a piece of the northern commercial zone, but most of the multifamily overlay is residentially zoned.
And that would keep it away from the town center
Yeah.
in 3A.
So I'm not on conservation, but the bigger chunks there that don't have roads, like the center right, what is in there that they never build on?
Right?
Jay could stand up, there's that one little road, yeah, right in there. What is in there that nobody's?
State forest.
Okay, that's a state forest, sorry. I keep thinking, I'm sorry, I'm gonna get that same email from that other person. So the town hall is over there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
On the other side,
It's over here.
the other side, the big piece, what is that?
This is privately owned land.
Several.
Yeah.
That's all one privately owned?
No, these are
it's
all,
different lots.
these are different parcels, so there's several of them.
Have never been built on.
Yeah, I think we could probably update this map though, because we've got that one development, what is it? What's that street, Firefly?
Firefly, yeah.
Yeah, so that doesn't show, so
Yeah,
that's
that
one
was
of
before.
those.
Oh, so
That
that's
was
all the
before
land
Firefly.
behind the
That's, I
3A?
think, what it
Okay,
is. I
gotcha.
think it's this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's this one, so, but yeah, these are developable
And the
properties.
school you just voted on the part
Yeah,
across the
maybe
from
we do
town
need
hall.
to
School-
update that
school
map a
part.
little bit.
So I save face, can you point to where the town hall is, because I'm gonna get an email from somebody for not knowing what the state forest is, because I keep thinking it's up near the pink area, because I can't see the roads from here,
Myself,
which should be, there it is, okay, perfect, that makes sense, state forest to the right, gotcha.
yeah,
I keep thinking we're up further near that development there.
yes,
Where I
so
live.
that's the school piece, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, to the point of, do you do something to protect these larger lots? This is where they are. The larger
And what's that
residential
one in the
zone.
middle down there, above not mixed use, but, yeah, the multi-lay, above it, there's some to the left.
Where?
See the orange in the bottom?
Yeah.
The orange center, go to the left?
You mean here?
Yeah, so go up one more, to the bigger ones.
Here?
What's in there? Is that, again, that's private, obviously, but there
Yeah.
just doesn't seem to be development happening. And I didn't know if it was because the land was mushy. I wasn't sure.
It could have constraints from land.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
some areas have wetlands, some areas have just challenge, I mean, these are long, narrow parcels, so some of that is challenging unless somebody assembles some of them.
That's what Jen did all the build out on, right? It had to be so much acreage and it couldn't be wet and it had to be,
Yeah.
that didn't drop down, there was kind of a.
And for any of these, by the way, if the
Oh, I'm
internet
gonna get
is
that email.
sadly slow, so I'm struggling with all of these. But if we want to play on this, you can click on, if I'm looking up at the screen here, we can click on any one of these parcels. And over here on the left, so I've just clicked on this big blue one. And here's the address. Here are the property owners. Here's the valuation. Here it'll say land protection, no known protections. So we can get some, decent information. We can get, it's 22.2 acres. I can click on the one next door.
I think it really is, a lot of it is, there's just some very old families in town that are willing to hold on to the land.
Yes.
We're just very lucky for it. But I don't know that it's gonna last forever.
Well, it won't.
It won't.
The reality is it won't, but, depending upon what happens, I mean, things change, so it's.
Things change.
Did I hear the Heritage Commission is working on like a historic overlay district?
I don't know, we haven't had a meeting yet.
Did I hear about that?
I haven't been, we have a meeting this weekend, I think.
Okay.
This weekend or next weekend.
I'm curious to see.
Well, not the Heritage Commission, the Historical Society.
Would it be the historical society?
I don't know. I didn't attend the last one.
Oh, so that one did sell.
We had an interview for the voting.
That's where the other winery was proposed?
Yeah.
Is that right?
What?
This one. By
The tree farm now? Is that the new tree farm?
That was where the other winery was proposed.
It's a tree farm now, right?
Oh, the tree farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tree farm, yeah.
Did they pull out the other winery?
That was a part of
Yes.
the open space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Supposed to be a tree farm. I don't know what.
Who knows?
We'll leave it at
So we can, yeah, so I mean, we can
Yeah.
certainly,
I don't wanna-
More to
I'm not
think
pushing
about.
developing, I just, it's their privacy. I just didn't know if the land was something buildable or not. I wasn't sure why it was being not developed, so.
I keep looking at the plot where it's just south of the intersection of Charles Bancroft and Albuquerque. It's in the commercial zone. And I'm just looking at that. I think that's the perfect place for a walkable shopping center. Not necessarily any residential there. And it kind of feeds into where we have the sidewalk planning, and it's right next to Romano's and those few shops there. I think that would be, I keep seeing that in my mind as a shopping center.
What side of the road is
Where
that on?
people can walk around, like you said, more of an intimate shopping center, not like a highway shopping center.
And that's what I mean, maybe it's, the northern commercial zone, maybe it's not multi-use, maybe it's just I don't know if there's a way to zone it that it would be commercial but also walkable.
yeah.
I don't know if that's, is that overly restricting the development? I don't know.
I mean, it comes down to really what do you want to, what do we want to see?
What do you want
I
to
mean,
see, yeah?
Right.
Clearly, there were some struggles around that with the gas station site. And, I mean, that's an opportunity to think about those same kind of village concepts, and maybe they don't include a residential component. Obviously, that's got to balance with what's realistic.
Right.
So-
Without more houses up there, I don't know who's to it, basically.
Right, but something, obviously, whatever you do here, you want it to be walkable because, to Sam's point, I mean, this is where the side path comes in and we're gonna have another sidewalk connection over here. That just makes sense.
I'd be leaving the room. The vent went on.
And of course, we do have the new houses coming in up the road, the apartments.
Oh, yes, that's right. There are some people who walk down.
Yeah.
But the people on Corning Road can walk down as well.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
And there's a park over there, right? Isn't there a baseball field or something back?
And there's Temple and.
Yes, you have to go up and around.
Yeah.
I don't think that there won't be a sidewalk to it.
Well, at least you're off the main road though, or on a side street. To get to the park, it's nice.
And there's also a school
Well,
right
if
here.
you
There's a
would have
school?
to cross
Oh, the,
3A, not at the
St.
crosswalk.
Francis.
Right.
That's the issue.
That first candy bar is gonna be tough when they cross that road to get to the gas station.
So there'd be a crosswalk.
Better not be traffic.
That might be, I like that idea of the maybe somehow overlaying it with the multifamily. Definitely a lot to think
Yeah.
about for this month.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Well, we could certainly, schedule a workshop, I imagine, in May.
definitely.
Oh, it's gonna be May
At
already.
it again. I know. Well, it's not May yet, but the rest of April's taken, so.
Right.
May.
2 items on April 18th.
What's that?
2 items on April 18th.
Okay.
So would it be second meeting in May? Or you wanna continue with the first?
Unless
We
there's
could do
something on the
either.
front.
Definitely.
have any.
I mean, I don't know that anything would be continued, but, our bigger item on the next meeting, is really a conceptual, so they won't be
Right.
ready for full application.
Yeah.
But they probably would be in May sometime.
You think so? Okay, then I bet you anything they would be the second meeting in May, so maybe we plan on a workshop for the first meeting in May.
Okay.
Because they definitely won't make that.
Right. Okay.
All right.
In the meantime, we'll look
So-
for some different
Yeah,
examples
do
out there
look
that we
some
can take a
different
look at.
examples, New Hampshire, and, see, or there's other examples out there, I guess. And gives the opportunity for the board to think about, more, and we'll come back to the discussion, I guess.
Okay.
That works.
And a survey might give us a result we don't
Well, I think-
expect.
Yeah, I mean, the
Right?
survey, I don't know, I just feel that, at least give the opportunity to the town to say, hey, listen, we want to know what we want your input. And,
Yeah,
I think that's important.
The hard part is, and I think most of us would agree, is if anybody were to ask, how do you want this to look in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, we'd all say farmland. But it's just not, like you said, it's just not going to happen. So it's like, if it's not farmland, what do we want it to look like? If that was not a possibility.
That can certainly be one of the questions, and see what people say.
Because, yeah, I would much rather it not be developed, but it's
But,
not, that's
Well,
not how the
a
world.
corporation owns a lot of the farmland in the south, so don't count them out yet.
All right,
Okay.
very good. Well, thank you, Jay, as always, good presentation and good discussion with the board.
Yeah.
Thank you. We will return to this very soon. So,
Early May.
okay.
Come up quick.
Committee reports, any reports from any committees? Kim, do you have anything?
I do. The Board of Selectmen will be meeting April 10th, Monday, 6:30 PM at the Town Hall. Last meeting, we went over Albuquerque Ave and the impact fees. It was a summary because it was during my end reports. However, if we approve the minutes tonight, you did an excellent job. If I gave that to them, they would have more than they need. I appreciate what you did. So, that's that. Back to impact fees in a little bit. Capital Improvement Plan Committee, they was going to start meeting after election. It would have been last night, but we have to check with your schedule, cable, that kind of thing. So are you in a position to be ready at some point, or I don't know if the town has you budgeted, or I'm not sure where that stands. I can find out, but.
Yeah, we haven't done anything with that yet, but the
Are you
next
gonna
probably,
need to do a contract again, or I think you did one for the last?
we did do one for the last time. But the next critical step is going to be kind of once again sending out the request forms to all the department heads.
But we're still waiting for the impact fee. You're going to give the report, right? The Mayberry kind of looking
Yeah,
report for the
yeah,
legal
yeah.
document, and then the spreadsheet as well. So that still has to happen, right? Because I think the Board of Selectmen has to approve those impact fees at some point, right? We have to take a look
I'll
at
double
it.
check on that, but I think the planning board has to vote on it.
But they still have to go and look.
So, yeah, that
they-
does have to happen.
Absolutely.
The CIP can move forward regardless.
Right.
So one's not linked, one doesn't have to happen before
Yep.
the other one, but yeah, those
Let's see.
steps do have to happen.
If we have any ARPA money left, I think it's all gone. So, but we need to at least close that out, right? All right, so are you available to start soon? You want me to just have Kim Kleiner
Yeah.
reach out to you?
Yeah.
And then they can coordinate with cable and the school and,
Yeah.
all right, so,
I can reach out to Kim too and find out when
Okay.
she wants to start.
Right.
oh, you want to do that, or you want me? Okay, you're going to do that
Yeah,
then?
I'll
Oh,
do
perfect.
that.
One less thing for me to do. All right, so it would be good if they picked up again. Joan, you had a question on CIP about maybe the police?
Jay answered it.
Oh, okay. So we'll handle that then. Okay, NRPC, last meeting, I gave you the big quarterly meeting, that's in the minutes, so this week is short. Next Executive Commission meeting is Wednesday, April 19th, 2023, and the next full commissioner meeting is quarterly, that's June 21st, 2023. Because I was reelected, I have been assigned to the Planning Board, Capital Improvement Plan Committee, and NRPC still. I'll still serve for those, okay? And that's it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Conservation meets this Thursday here in Town Hall at 7 PM, 6 PM, excuse me.
6 PM is non-public and 6:30 is the meeting.
Got it.
Oh,
Okay.
too bad.
I have not heard anything from the Lower Merrimack River Local Advisory Committee. And CIP, we will schedule something. I'll reach out to Kim Kleiner and we can do that shortly. And I think that's all I have.
Budget committee met on March 30th. We're really just talking like policies and ways to move forward. And the next meeting is April 20th, 7 PM. So season doesn't start till, let's see, September, end of September, so it's kind of just procedure meetings.
You're the archivist now, I understand?
Yes, I'm
So
vice chair, and then I'm going to be setting up similar to what we have with the portal. So actually, Joan, I have to meet with you and look at how to do that.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, they weren't documented before?
More easily accessible to the public, because, and the same thing, the Board of Selectmen has a portal where all the documents that are being referenced during the meeting are easy to get to through the town website, so the budget committee would like to do that, the same thing.
Nice.
Okay.
That's it.
Great. So I have the minutes from the last meeting. Did anyone, March 21st, does anyone have any questions about those?
Just that last piece, right? On last page, I just changed the date to, I think, the 4th. I'm not sure what day you want, the 4th, yeah.
I had the 7th, it was supposed to be the 4th.
Okay, because I'm like, why is this to be somewhere? Thank you. But it looked great.
Yep.
Good job.
I think they look good.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion, if we can, as amended, the motion, minutes for March 21st.
So me?
I have a motion by Kate, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Kim. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0-0. Okay, thank you. And thank you, Matt. Okay, any other business this evening? Jay, do you have anything?
I do not.
Joan, do you have
No,
anything?
I don't.
Oh, you have anything? Okay, Kim, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't have anything, so with that said, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
I have a motion, a second?
Second.
Second by Sam. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstain, motion passes 5-0-0. Well, thank you for joining us this evening, and we will see you in a couple weeks. Have a good night.
Okay. You might want to talk to John Brunel or Jason Brennan
Okay.